I'm excited that we get to spend some time together this evening hanging out. We've been, over the past few weeks, we've been asking ourselves a question. And the question we've been asking ourselves is, what does Jesus want me to be and do here and now? And we've been challenged by that question every week. What does Jesus want me to be and do here and now? And we've been looking at some episodes from Jesus' life, trying to get close to the heart of Jesus, of who he is and how he lived his life, so that we could live like him and be able to answer that question. What does Jesus want me to be and do here and now? And one of the stories that we looked at was about a man named Zacchaeus. And Zacchaeus was a really short guy. And he wanted to see Jesus, and so he ends up climbing a tree so that he can see Jesus. And then Jesus invites himself over to his house. And in this story, Jesus makes perfectly clear his own mission on earth. It's the clearest that Jesus is ever about it. He says, I have come to seek and save the lost. That's what Jesus is about. That's what his whole ministry and life on earth is about. That's everything that he does, is so that he can seek and save the lost. And we're asking ourselves, well, okay, what can we learn from that story? What does Jesus want me to be and do here and now? And sometimes we find ourselves, maybe Zacchaeus, looking at Jesus from afar, trying to see if Jesus is trustworthy, or just trying to check him out. What's he like? Sometimes we find ourselves as part of the crowd. Zacchaeus wasn't comfortable in the crowd. The crowd kept Zacchaeus away, and God forgive us for any time that we've kept someone away from Jesus. But mostly we were challenged, let's be like the tree. Let's live our lives so that someone could climb up in our life and see Jesus because of it. What would Jesus want me to be and do here and now? He'd want me to be like a tree. And we looked at a story about Bartimaeus, and Bartimaeus was blind. And Jesus is walking by, and Bartimaeus shouts out, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus calls him over and he says, what do you want me to do for you? I love the way Jesus asks that question, because it's just so insightful. What do you want me to do for you? And we're challenged by that own thought in our own life. What do we want Jesus to do for us? And then from there, if we're going to ask ourselves, what would Jesus want me to be and do here and now? We look at that story and we see that Jesus saw Bartimaeus. He didn't ignore him. Jesus would want us to see people. See people no matter who they are. See people past their faults, past their hang-ups and their screw-ups, past their own disabilities, and see people and then be able to be and answer that question, what do you want me to do for you? How can I help you? What would Jesus want me to be and do here and now? And today we're going to look at a story found in the Gospel of John. And so John, there are 4 accounts of Jesus' life in the Bible, and we call them Gospels. We've looked at a story from Mark. We've looked at a story from Luke. And tonight we're going to look at a story from John. And this is John's recording of Jesus' life here on earth. We're going to be looking in John chapter 12. And so if you have a Bible, you can flip over to John chapter 12. If you don't have a Bible, we can get one for you out at our concierge cart. We would love for you to take it, to read it, to explore it for yourself, to engage with it and wrestle with the text and see what that says about Christianity. If you prefer, you can just pull out your phone and go to bible.com/app, and you can download an app to your phone. That's one way to read the Bible. And we'll also have the questions or the scriptures up here on the screen. This story in John chapter 12 is about a woman who anoints Jesus. It's one of the only stories that is told in all 4 accounts of Jesus' life. In all 4 Gospels, we find this story. And Jesus has some pretty interesting things to say about it in this interaction with the woman. And I'm excited to explore what that means for our own life as we answer this question, what does Jesus want me to be and do here and now? This past week was International Women's Day. Around the world, they celebrated International Women's Day. And I really didn't know that was a thing. It's not really a big thing here in the United States. That's not a big holiday for us. But around the world, it's actually a big holiday in different countries. In fact, I got some texts from some missionaries that we support in Africa who had texted me some events. They were having like a food fair, and they were having like a 5K. They were doing all kinds of things for International Women's Day to celebrate women. And I love the way that women interact with Jesus in the Bible. I'm so grateful for the way Jesus interacts with women and what women mean for us. The reality is, if you look at it, I mean, Jesus was, of course, born of a woman. Like, that's where it all starts, is in a woman's womb, right? And then you look at Jesus' life. The last people that are at the cross, while Jesus is going and he's dying, the last people that are there are women. The disciples are long gone. They've taken off, but the women remain. The first people that show up on Easter Sunday to go and anoint Jesus' body are women. They're the first ones that hear about the resurrection. Jesus' ministry is funded by women. They're the ones providing the funding and taking care of his needs. It's amazing how much, the reality is we wouldn't be here without women. And I don't just mean naturally. I mean, of course, we would not be here without women. What I mean is that this church would not exist without women because women played such a primary role in Jesus' ministry and in the early church. I'm so grateful for women. And I'm grateful for what Jesus does because Jesus, in first century ancient Near East, he lifts up and he elevates and he honors women and he brings everybody to level playing ground, which I love about Jesus. And so I'm grateful for women. I'm grateful for strong women in my own life. My wife is one of the strongest people I know. And man, I'm so grateful for her in my own life. She kept me from doing something really stupid this week. I mean, really, I would have made a massive mistake. It would have hurt. it would have hurt. And she was like, "That's not smart. Don't do that. Here's the better path to take." I'm so grateful for that in my own life. And then I'm really grateful for my mom. My mom is just this amazing, strong woman, and I'm grateful for all that she's done in my own life. When I think about who helped me seek Jesus, I think about my mom and dad. And my mom grew up in a home, not a great home. My mom grew up in an abusive home. Her father was an alcoholic. Her mother deals with severe mental illness. It was not a good situation. And she ended up running away from home at 18 years old. And when she ran away, her mom kind of gave this blanket statement to the rest of the family: don't talk to Sue. No one is ever allowed to talk to Sue. And so I didn't know my mom's family for most of my life because nobody could talk to my mom. And so I grew up not knowing that side of the family. It wasn't until Janelle and I got married that they kind of got reconnected. And then a couple of years ago, we went on this family reunion. And my mom started showing me around her house, her old neighborhood. I'd never seen where she grew up, And one of the things that she showed me was she went down the road, and I took a picture of it because it was so meaningful to me. One of the things that she showed me was a picture of the church that she went to. The church that she went to when home was too hard to be in. The church that she went to when she ended up running away from home. And it was at this church, we've got a picture of it here. It was at this church where my mom learned to seek Jesus. And I'm so grateful for that in my own life. My mom is the first Christian on her side of the family. And she broke through some things that I never had to deal with because of her courage to be willing to kind of step out, to be willing to give up, to be willing to be broken. This church doesn't know it. That priest is long gone. But it's because of them that I've been able to seek Jesus, and I'm really grateful for that. And in this story that we have tonight, we see this example of this really strong woman. And I love her story. And so I'm going to read it with you from John chapter 12 tonight. Let me get there. This is what it says. 6 days before the Passover celebration began, Jesus arrived in Bethany, the home of Lazarus, the man he had raised from the dead. A dinner was prepared in Jesus' honor. Martha served, and Lazarus was among those who ate with him. Then Mary took a 12-ounce jar of expensive perfume made from essence of nard, and she anointed Jesus' feet with it, wiping his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the fragrance. But Judas Iscariot, the disciple who would soon betray him, said, "That perfume was worth a year's wages. It should have been sold and the money given to the poor." Not that he cared for the poor. He was a thief. And since he was in charge of the disciples' money, he often stole for himself. And Jesus replied, "Leave her alone. She did this in preparation for my burial. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me." This is such an interesting story. As Jesus is making his way toward Jerusalem, we ourselves are making our way toward Easter. Emily just told you Easter's coming up April 1st, just a few weeks away. And so as we're making our way toward Easter, we're looking at Jesus' life as he makes his way toward Jerusalem. Because he's headed to the cross. He's headed to the crucifixion. And he knows what's coming. And it's as if Jesus becomes so crystal clear in communicating with us about his mission and what's on his mind. And you could tell it's on his mind because Jesus says about the woman, "Hey, leave her alone because she's preparing for my burial." Like if you knew your own crucifixion was coming, that would take up a large amount of your mental headspace. And so this is on Jesus' mind as he's going. And as Jesus is making his way, he's thinking about the fact that he's going to be broken. He's going to give his all. Everything he has, his entire life, he will be crucified on a cross, and not for his own benefit. Jesus doesn't need the crucifixion. Instead, he's going to be crucified on behalf of us, on behalf of those who are lost, those who are sinners, those who are still seeking God and trying to connect from him. And he's going to be crucified, and he's going to rise again. He's going to conquer sin and death. And so that is looming in his mind as he's making his way down the road to Jerusalem. And in this moment, he encounters this woman that really represents, in her own way, it symbolizes the same thing that he's going to do on the cross. Because in this moment, Mary, the woman, she chooses to give her all. Jesus is headed toward Jerusalem, ready to give his all. But in this moment, this woman gives her all. She's willing to give it all in and be broken. Right here. What would Jesus want me to be and do here and now? And you look back and it says that Mary took this 12-ounce jar that was probably kind of in an alabaster container. Once it's broken, it's broken. Can't put the pieces back together. It's broken. It's used. It's exposed. And we get insight to the fact that this is a very valuable thing that Mary has, because Judas is mad about it. And he says this was worth a year's wages. This is like 300 days worth of work. Let's just, think about that on our own terms. Let's just take kind of an average wage. Let's say $30,000. How long would it take you to save $30,000? Not make $30,000, save $30,000. To have that kind of, maybe you buy an art piece, or I don't know what you buy with it, but you've got that thing that you've saved, and it represents this huge savings on your part. How long would that take? That's what Mary is bringing to this moment. Now, as we've just said, Mary's a woman. Mary's not coming to this moment from a place of power or influence. She's a woman. In many ways, she lives in a society where she's considered a second-class citizen. Women weren't even considered to be reliable witnesses, so their testimony couldn't be used in court. So what Mary's bringing is, it's not like she's got another. She doesn't have another jar of perfume, another bottle of nard worth $30,000 sitting in the back. This is it. This is what would be used as her emergency plan B. Oh my gosh, it's horrible. Go and sell it. Go and pawn it. And then you can get yourself out of trouble. And so Mary brings this to the moment, and she breaks it open. Now there's no going back. And when I think about that question, what would Jesus want me to be and do here and now? As Jesus lives out this in his own life, going to the cross, there's no going back. As he commends Mary, there's no going back. You got to bring your all and be willing for it to be broken. Now the reality is when you bring your all and you're willing for it to be broken, not everybody's going to get that. Not everybody's going to understand that. Judas doesn't. He's indignant about it. He's angry about it. Just can't understand it. And the same way is true for you and I. I remember when I told people I was moving to Las Vegas. I don't know if you've ever moved to Las Vegas, but the reaction is quite strange. It's like, Vegas? You're moving to Las Vegas? Are you sure? You know, like, what are you going to do? You going to live in a hotel? Like, I mean, it's so mind-blowing to them that someone would willingly choose to move to Las Vegas. If you live in Las Vegas, right, and you tell people, I'm moving downtown. Downtown? You been downtown? Yeah, I'm down there a lot. Are you sure you want to go? Like, they don't understand. Why would you want to go to a church in downtown? What sense does that make? Like, why would you want to offer that part of you? It's just so hard to grasp, you know. If you've ever encountered, like, why would you give up that job or give up retirement or not choose the bigger car or the bigger house? Like, people just don't understand others that live all in. Like, the whole thing, here it is. Especially, like, you go to church, like, every Sunday you go to church. Every Sunday you go to church for an hour? Are you kidding me? Like, that's hard to grasp. And the reality is that for someone who's not all in, they'll never understand it. See, Judas isn't all in. He's not willing to give his all and be broken. And because he's not willing to give his all and be broken, he can't understand why Mary would do that. And so you've got to ask yourself, when you're asking yourself this question, what would Jesus want me to be and do here and now? You need to be careful about who you're talking about this with. Because if you talk about it with somebody who's not all in, they're going to say, don't do that, that's crazy. You know, if Mary had gone to Judas beforehand, hey Judas, I've got this bottle of perfume. It's worth like $30,000, man. You think I should anoint Jesus' feet with it? Jesus would, no, don't do it. That's stupid, Mary. Let's sell it and split the profit. He just doesn't get it because he's not on. The reality is, if you're going to choose to give your all and be willing for it to be broken, there will be people who never understand it. They just won't get it. But there will also be people who remember it. It's not included in this account, but if you were to read in Matthew, Mark, or Luke, one of the things that Jesus says, he says, wherever my story is told, this woman's story will also be told. Can you imagine that? Jesus is talking about, like, wherever people talk about my death and resurrection, they're also going to talk about this woman, this moment, here and now. And I love that. The description that it says in the text is that when the perfume is broken, the whole house is filled with the fragrance. The reality is if you put your life all in it and you're willing for it to be broken, someone is going to remember it. You might not get a book deal. You might not get a viral video or anything like that, but somebody will remember it. There is a coworker who will experience the fragrance of joy because you were willing to go all in and willing for it to be broken. There's a family member who will know peace because you gave your all and you were willing for it to be broken. There's a neighborhood that will know hope because you gave your all and were willing for it to be broken. Somebody will remember it. Someone will come across the brokenness of your life and they'll be able to pick up the fragrance of the kingdom of God when we're willing to go all in and willing for it to be broken. What would Jesus want me to be and do here and now? I think he'd want us to consider going all in and being broken on behalf of somebody else. It's a challenging thought. It's not an easy question to answer. A lot of times it comes down to the fact, like, can I trust you enough to do that, God? Like, if I give my all, like no backup plan, this is it, I'm going to give my all. Can I trust you enough to be there when everything else runs out? God, can I trust that you'll take care of me and you'll be by my side? But the reality is he's already proven, because he died on a cross and he rose again. And if he can conquer death and sin, he can take care of us in the giving our all. And so if you're considering following Jesus, I'd say this, you really got to get all in. Put all your chips on the table. If you're exploring Christianity, take that leap of faith. Jump off a cliff and see how God meets you on the way. If you've been following Jesus for a while, and then the challenging part for us is we come up with ways to kind of wall things off. God, you can have everything. You can have everything except my time. God, you can have everything except I don't want to talk about my addiction, God. God, you can have it all. Let's just not talk about sex. God, you can have everything except for work. Saturday at 6 p.m. or Sunday at 6 p.m., I'm all yours. Monday through Friday, I'm busy. You know? And the challenge for us is, what would Jesus want me to be and do here and now? Want us to be like this woman who gives her all, is willing for it to be broken.